All right, your class today is a gentle yoga practice where we're not even going to stand up. We're just going to chill and stretch out. So let's start hands and knees pose, tabletop, and sit back child's pose. Big toes together, knees slightly split so you can rest down between your thighs with your ribs. Stretch your arms forward, stretch out through your fingers. And take a few rounds of breath here if you need to waggle around a little bit. Just kind of move things around as you feel it's necessary for your body. Breathe from your low belly into your back, inhaling and exhaling slow, complete breath without force, without too much work. And then on your inhale, roll on up into tabletop pose, open your chest, and exhale, round your spine, tuck your tail. And you can tuck your toes under here and sit back for an extra foot stretch in child's pose. Pressing your mat away really strong with your hands. So gentle doesn't mean lazy. It just means gentle on your joints, but still strengthening your joints and strengthening your body. Engage your core here. Really feel those toes tucked under and those knees pressing down into the floor. Your hips drop and your belly engages. Okay, inhale back up to table and open your chest. Exhale, sit back again, but this time lift your knees, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. So here again, pressing out through those arms, strong arms. Use your triceps to push your arms to straight and lift those hips up, lift those heels up, really stretch out, take up as much space as you can here. And feel the length and the strength in your body in this posture, downward facing dog. Okay, inhale your knees back down to the floor. And again, open your chest, little cow stretch. Exhale, round your spine, a cat stretch. And then again, sit back, child's pose. Split those knees apart just enough to accommodate your ribs. Nestle in here for just a few moments. We're going to take a twist. So get really comfortable in your hips and your feet. I'm going to stretch my left arm through under my right. And really press the floor away with the right hand. And when you stretch your left arm through, flip the palm up and roll to the left side of your head. Let your hips drop down towards your heels. Engage your belly. Breathing from your belly into your back. Open your chest even in this twist. Okay, take your left arm out back to the top of your mat. Exhale, child's pose. Good. And then the right arm goes through, right shoulder through, roll to the side of your head. And keep stretching your left arm forward. Open your left ribs. Keep dropping those hips down towards your heels and press into your shins, press into your ankles. And then even here in this twist, you can feel your chest open, but without too much work, without too much effort. There's more of a softness here and a surrender. Okay, lift up with your right arm, stretch it forward again. Child's pose, balasana. And then an inhale back up into tabletop pose. Open your chest, little cow stretch. Exhale, round your back. Cat stretch. All right, we're going to take this into a little deer stretch. So I'm going to take my right knee up between my hands. My right hip and heel are going to connect. So I'm not going to take this into the pigeon stretch. So the heel and hip connect. So I'm sitting on my right heel with my right hip. Left foot stretches back, hands on the floor slightly out in front of your shoulders. And then here you can start to just open your chest, or you can start to look back over your right shoulder for a very easy twist. But keep your left big toe pointing straight back. And so activate that left leg a little bit. Yeah, you can even lift up the knee and set it back down. Okay, here I'm going to start to add in my twist. You can decide to stay facing forward with your chin tucked, or you can start to walk your right hand back a little bit and then look over your right shoulder. But keep pushing back through your left foot, back through that left big toe. And then your chest here stays open. So it doesn't need to be pressed up. It just, you don't want your collarbones to collapse down into your lungs, down into the top of your lungs. All right, and then inhale, untwist, and then I'm just going to roll on over to the right hip, and then I am going to pull that left foot knee up to the right foot now, so it's similar to pigeon, Ikapada, and then stretch out over the right shin. So right now, currently, you can't really see, I have my right heel in front of my left thigh, and then my left knee just bent up so the left thigh can come to the sole of my right foot. And then just stretching out over the right shin. So your right hip and shoulder are still in line, and the right knee is pointing towards your right elbow. If you need a pillow or a block here, you can use a block under your forehead. And the left sit bone is floating, unless it's down. I mean, don't force it. So it can go wherever it goes. And then as you're breathing here, really focus on that breath moving up and expanding around your back ribs. Okay, just another breath or two here, and then we'll come back up to seated and take a twist. This is a very gentle approach to one-leg king pigeon, so you're always welcome to straighten your left leg back too instead. And when I'm going to move into Bharadvajasana, so that left knee would bend up to your right foot if it was straight back. Okay, right hand back behind you, left hand to your right thigh, and then just lift that chest through. And again, that left sit bone is lifting up, pressing forward. Press your left hip towards your left elbow. And lift your chest. Your eyes can move out over your collarbones. Or you can look out over your right shoulder if that feels better. And then untwisting, coming back, hands to floor. And then resituating yourself into tabletop pose. Find your spacing. Shoulders over wrists, knees and hips line up. And then cat-cow. Inhale, open your chest. Exhale, round your spine. Then lift those knees and press up and back. Downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. You can move around as it feels good, just twisting side to side. Bend your knees. Wave your tail side to side. And then we'll set up for the second side deer stretch. So as you're ready, please take your time here. Maybe even another child's pose here to rest for a few more moments or re-energize for a few more moments. Sometimes it's nice just to untwist and unfurl any kind of bending or forward bending we were doing. Knees down, inhale, open your chest, and then exhale, left knee goes through. And again, I'm just sitting right back on that left heel with my left sit bones. My hands are slightly forward of my shoulders, so I have some kind of a leverage with my hands to open the chest. And then you might feel this wonderful stretch in the front of your right hip, right thigh. Stretch your right big toe back. Notice where your head needs to be for this. Maybe you tuck your chin and you feel more of a stretch in the upper back. Maybe you lift your chest up and walk your hands in for a more of a front body stretch to encourage a back bend. And then again, the twist. You can opt to stay forward facing or twist looking over your left shoulder. If you're twisting, keep the right big toe stretching straight back. And then again, your left hand can walk back a little bit more to help leverage the twist without too much work, without too much effort. Okay, inhale, untwist, and then sit off to your left sit bone. And now you can see a little better here. I've got that left foot coming up to my right thigh. And the left knee is bent comfortably. The right knee has come up so that my right thigh can make contact with the left foot. And then forward bend out over your left shin. Maybe you're on your elbows. Maybe you're on a block. Maybe your head is just gently supported by a block, softly supported by a block, so you're not pushing your forehead down into something. Lengthen out your neck muscles, and again, open your collarbones. And just using the time here to breathe and work out any kinks. Movement is always accepted. There's no need to ever be still. You can always adjust, move, and enhance the posture, enhance your experience. But of course, as always, focusing on that breath, sending the breath from your belly into your back and expanding across your ribs. Inhale, walk back up to seated, and then resituate yourself here for the twist. So you can lift that right sit bone if it kind of fell down. You can let the left knee open up a little bit. Right hand to the left thigh, left hand to the floor behind, and look over the shoulder or right out over the collarbones. And your right hip is just gently pressing towards the right elbow. So it's not forceful or excessive. Not overworking. Okay, another breath or two here, and then you'll release that twist on an inhale so you can come back into tabletop pose over your hands and knees and realign your hips and elbows, or hips and shoulders. So shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. And then exhale, sit back, child's pose into balasana. Arms really stretch forward, so fingers stretch forward, toes stretch back. And again, your knees move out to accommodate your ribs. Engage your armpits here, so activate the outer lats and think about hollowing out your armpits. Inhale, then come up to a tabletop pose. Step your right foot through in between your hands, and you might have to scoot your left leg back a little bit to get a longer low lunge here. And stay on your hands. You can come to blocks. I'm coming inside of my right foot, so my right foot's now wiggled off to the side a little bit. So the right foot is slightly wider than your right sit bone. And notice here, chest is through, so I'm not rounding my upper back too much. And then I'm going to come up to kneeling pose with my right forearm on my right knee, left hand on hip. And if this is too much, stay down on the floor. That's definitely going to fire up the front of that left hip. You are pushing into your right heel, so your right leg is active. You're not just dumping down into the right hip. And then your back muscles are active, especially if you're upright. I'm going to twist here. So left hand back to the floor, right hand on my right shin or right thigh. And again, I'm actively twisting. I'm not just leaning into the left hand. Push the floor away with your left hand and push your right thigh away with your right hand. So there's some abdominal engagement here. And still pressing back with your right big toes, just enough to be aware of your right leg, or your left big toe, sorry. Just enough to be aware of your left leg. You are pushing down into your right heel. All right, and then we're going to move into a half split next. So another big breath here, open your chest, open your throat, and then look back down to your left hand so that you can untwist slowly. So you just kind of start with your gaze to untwist, and then your right hand can come down to the floor. I'm going to keep my right foot out wide. So my half split is going to be a wide leg half split. And then when I pull my left hip back over my left knee, my right leg straightens out. And sometimes I have to scoot the right foot farther forward. And you can come down to elbows. You can stay on hands. But again, try not to round excessively in your upper back. So still focusing on keeping your chest open and the collarbones are not pinching down and collapsing onto your chest, onto your tips of your lungs. Keep flexing the right foot, pulling the toes up to the ceiling. And you're welcome to tuck your left toes under for extra balance. Okay, pull your right leg back into tabletop pose as you inhale up to your hands. And cat-cow here. So inhale, open, exhale, round. And you're welcome to do this as long as you'd like. I'm going to roll down into a bit of an up dog cobra shape. Cobra here because my thighs are on the floor, kneecaps up, chest through, toes point back. Elbows are not pushing forward, but my arms are pushing forward, my entire arm. And then I like to stay here for a few moments. You're welcome to bend your elbows more and come down lower onto your hips and belly. And then also, again, you're welcome to stay with cat-cow. That's a wonderful back and core work and stretch, right? So alternating between the flexion and the extension. Okay, roll back up over your knees into tabletop pose. Tuck your toe pads under and lift your hips up, lift your knees up, flex your ankles, and push your thighs back, downward facing dog. Press out with your arms, press out with your hands, press the floor away. And just a few moments here, again, to neutralize before coming back to the second side low lunge. Okay, so knees down. My left foot's going to step forward now, and I'm going to scooch that right leg back a little bit or bend the left knee forward. So I've stepped my left foot forward far enough that all I need to do is really bend my left knee, and I've got the space that I need there. And then go ahead and walk your left foot off to the side of your mat so that your hands are inside of your left leg. And again, you can be on hands here or elbows and stretch your chest through, heart opens. Keep stretching back with your right big toe so you can feel that length in the right hip. Keep your chest open again. So if your elbows are coming down, try not to collapse in the upper body. And then I'm going to come up to my left forearm on my left knee, right hand on my hip. Just give the hands a break from that weight. And also lifting your torso up over your hip will put a little bit more stretch and pull on the front of that right hip. So be careful if that's too intense. Come back to the floor, hands on the floor. Your back is working here. This is a back bend. So your back is strengthening as you're stretching the front of your core line, the front hip line. But keep pressing into your left heel and keep that left leg really strong. And now the twist. Right hand down under your shoulder and then push down onto your left thigh with your left hand and pull from your back muscles. Your back muscles, your spinal muscles are rotating your left ribs open. Your core line is stabilizing the twist so it's not twisting too much. And just let your gaze go where it helps open your chest, open the back of your neck, and not feel any extra pull or resistance to the twist. And another breath here. Again, I'm going to look down to the floor to come out of the twist. And then your left hand can start to come down to the floor when you're ready to move into that half split. So untwisting from the top down when you're ready. And then your left hand on the floor under your shoulder. Start to pull your left hip back, right hip back. And then again, you're welcome to tuck your right toes under for a little extra balance. Flex your left ankle, and I'm coming down to my elbows. And my back is rounding a little bit, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with a rounded spine. Rounded spine is just fine. It's made that way. Your collarbones. You don't want the chest to collapse and divot. You don't want to feel like you're hollowing out the front of your body. So you want to really feel a constant stretch through of your chest, your sternum through your shoulders. And breathe. If you're using your elbows on the floor, push down. If you're using blocks on the floor, push down. So there's some understanding of the floor pushing the floor away. And here comes my dog. And there's Sebastian's face. Okay. Cat, cow, open your chest and round your spine. Oh, hi. Hey, Bez. Keep moving through cat, cow. And then round your spine and roll down to your hips. Inhale, open your chest. And again, here in Cobra, lift those knees, point those big toes back. You can bend your elbows as much as you need, but really stretch that chest through your shoulders and open your heart. Make sure you can breathe here. It's sometimes harder to breathe here, so really focus on breathing from your belly into your back. All right, and then start to lift your hips up and tuck your toe pads under, up and back, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And let your head drop, let your chin tuck in just ever so slightly so you're not aggressively pulling your chin in. You're just letting the top of your head anchor down towards the floor. Okay, bend your knees, take your knees down to the floor. And then I'm going to come to seated. All right, so feet together, feet on the floor, knees bent. Hug your knees into your chest and sit up nice and tall here. And then I'm going to twist. Left elbow hooks right thigh, right hand to the back. And then stretch your right collarbone away from your left collarbone and your left collarbone away from your right collarbone. So you're stretching the upper back. Push into your feet, and it's okay for your knees to not be perfectly lined up. And then your sit bones don't need to be perfectly lined up either. So you're instead just focusing on growing taller from your sitting bones and not necessarily jamming them into the floor, but lifting up out of those sit bones, lifting up through the spine as it rotates open. Okay, inhale, release your twist. Exhale, hug in, and I'm going to lean back here. So it's a seated version of Apanasana. Really round out, tuck your chin, pull onto your shins with your hands, and hang from your shins as you really stretch your back. This one feels really good. I like to stay here for another moment or two. Good. And then inhale back up, and we'll set up for the second side twist. So push down into your feet and your sit bones so that you can get taller up through your knees, up through your head, and then out of that spine twisting, you feel length and growth. So you're using your right elbow to gently leverage the twist, but not force it. So your right shoulder should not be collapsing in. And then really open through with your sternum. Use your left hand on the floor. You can walk it back as far as you need or in as close as you need so that you don't feel like your right side is side bending. It's long. And pull the back of your head back up over your hips. Inhale here and then untwist, look forward, and then let the spine follow. And then again, I'm going to hug and hang on to those shins with my hands and round back, stretching out the back. And just a few more moments here, as long as you'd like here. As long as it feels good, enjoy it. Okay, and then inhale, lift back up. And we'll take the legs into a forward bend. So stretch your legs out wide. If you need to sit on a blanket on your sit bones or some kind of prop, maybe even roll the back of your mat up a few times. And I'm going to twist here before we take any kind of forward bend. Right hand behind, left hand to right thigh. Now my left sit bone is kind of coming up off the floor, and I can feel that just like we did in the previous twist, Bharadvajasana, where your knees were bent. That left sit bone was kind of pushing forward, and that's fine. Use your gaze however it helps you. So if you like to look forward or around the right shoulder over to the back of the room, please do. But then again, lift your head, lift your chin so you can feel the back of your neck long so you're not leaning forward with your forehead. And keep pressing into the right sit bone and lifting up out of that right armpit. Good. And then release on your inhale, look forward, and then unwind from your spine. Okay, so I'm going to bend both knees here and take a seated garland pose. So my toes are pointing out, and your feet can stay up, your toes can stay up rather, or your toes can go down, but push into your knees or your inner thighs with your arms and press your chest up. This is always a nice one to try against a wall, so you can always sit back against a wall and try this if you've got the wall space. Press your palms together and then release. Okay, stretch your legs back out and set up for your twist. All right, so get cozy in those sit bones. You're more on the front of your sit bones here rather than on the back of your sit bones. So again, if you need a prop, some leverage, put something underneath the sitting bones. Left hand comes behind, right hand to your left thigh. And then again, my right sit bone, you can kind of lift that right sit bone up a little bit. I mean, it's not going to pop up and twist open, but it is maybe not connecting as much as the left sit bone, and that's fine. Press out through both feet and then really twist through from that left armpit now. And again, your gaze can be over your left shoulder or forward. Try to feel all of your toes pointing straight up to the ceiling here, as well as your knees. Feeling the strength in this posture, as well as a good stretch in the inner thighs. Inhale, look forward and untwist. And then here I'm going to move into the forward bend. So this is where a blanket will be handy because it'll help facilitate that anterior tilt of your pelvis. So again, you want those sit bones on the front of your sit bones is where your weight is, so that your sit bones, the backs of them, are kind of pointing out behind you. And then please allow your back to round out as much as it needs. My elbows are on the floor. You can take your forehead down and you can see my upper back is rounding, and that's fine, but my low back is not so much. My low back is keeping its natural shape. And if your feet are sickling in, try to actively lift those toes up to the ceiling, especially your big toe. And sometimes this is nice to use a wall with your soles of your feet on the wall. Not to push yourself into a forward bend more, but rather to keep those toes pointing straight up. And then you can just fold out to the wall instead of down to the floor. So it's a really cool modification. All right, just another breath here. And then on your next inhale, you're going to start to roll up nice and slow. Walk your hands to the floor, lift your head up over your hips. And then take your legs back in together. And again, knees in, feet on the floor, and lean back into that wonderful little Apanasana background. And here you're rolling back more onto the back of the sit bones rather than the front. So this is much different than that forward bend you were just in. to come down to a reclining position here in the next moment or two, so you can situate yourself more towards the front end of your mat and roll down as you're ready. Feet on the floor. Situate your shoulder blades so they're smoothed out. Not necessarily flat or anything, but just smoothed out on your back, smoothed out on your mat. I'm going to take bridge pose. So I'm going to use my arms. I like to bend my elbows here. And I also like to have my feet wider than my hips for bridge. Why not? It doesn't do any harm. In fact, it'll just create more space. And then you can snuggle your shoulders in a little closer when you get more space with your hips up. Right now I'm pushing into my heels, and my heels are right under my knees. And it's okay if your toes turn out a little bit. Just have your knees point in the same direction as your toes. So the whole point of this is really just to get the back of your body stronger, your glutes, your hamstrings, your back muscles. And then also there's a wonderful throat experience going on here, Jalandhara Bandha, a throat lock. So chest to chin, stretching out the back of your neck, stimulating your throat organs and glands. Push down into your shoulders though, like the top of your shoulders push down to the floor. Good, and then roll down. Come out of that and feel your chest move away from your throat now. And your throat is opening back up. Lengthen the back of your neck. Pull your right knee into your chest. Keep your left foot on the floor for now. Then we'll move this into a twist. So I'm going to roll over to the outer left hip. I'm grabbing my right foot with my left hand and then just kind of stretching out that right leg and pulling it with my left hand. You can actually add in the extra bind here. Right hand can come down to your left foot now. Not forcing your right shoulder to the floor though. So let it just kind of fall open. And breathe into that belly. Breathe. Smooth, full breath up and down your spine. Okay, a couple more breaths here. And at any point, if the double bind is causing pain, let it go. And just let this pose soften. All right, let's roll back over to your reclining position. Uncross your legs. Take your feet back to the floor. Open up your arms if that feels good. Let the airways open here for your breath. And then hug your left knee in. And stay here for just a moment. One leg, knee to chest. And then I'm going to start to drift over to the right hip. And I'm going to grab the left foot with my right hand. Maybe just stay here. And then I'm going to flip it over to the top of my foot so I can start to stretch out my left leg. And the right hand and the left leg are working together in concert to kind of create a little bit of a stretch on the outer left hip. And if it's too much of a stretch, let it go or bend the left knee. And if you'd like to add in the extra bind, take your left hand down to your right foot. And again, you're not forcing your left shoulder down. Just kind of let things happen as they do. Let things unwind as your breath is helping. It's guiding it. The breath should be opening some more joints and movements. It's opening the doorways to some softening, to some surrender. Soften your face and jaw. Soften your inner left groin. Inner right groin. Soften your left shoulder. And the right shoulder opens a little bit. And you might feel your chest open a little bit. And then breathe up into those lungs. All right, unwrap your legs. Come back to reclining position in the center of your mat. Take a few moments here. Just let your arms open up. Let that twist unwind. And then hug your knees into your chest. Apanasana. You can take your knees wide if that feels good. And I'm going to grab my left foot with my left hand for happy baby. And you can stick with one leg, happy baby, or both legs, happy baby, Ananda Balasana, pulling your knees down towards the floor next to your ribs. Lengthen your low back here. Your hips can lift. So we're not trying to jam them down, but do try to keep some length in your low back. And then again, your shoulder heads are pulling down towards the floor. Okay, rebend your left knee and hug it in. Rebend your right knee and hug it in. Apanasan. And then just slowly unwind here and unfurl into a little bit of a relaxation posture. I like to stretch my arms above head, stretch my legs out, and take a nice big full body stretch. And then let your arms relax down next to your side. The back of your head, find a comfortable place to rest on, so you might have to move your head around a few times to find that sweet spot. Let your fingers relax into your palms. Let your toes relax and your feet fall open. Glutes are relaxed. Thighs are relaxed. Take Shavasana. And if any other shape suits your practice better here to rest in, please feel free to move into any other shape. But just take the next few moments to focus on your breath and stillness and quiet. And if you've got longer, please feel free to stay longer. But when you're ready to move, start to wiggle out your fingers, your toes, stretch your arms overhead. Walk your feet to the floor, and then give your knees a squeeze with your arms, hug in. Roll off to the side. And if you want to stay here for a few extra moments, please do. And then as you're ready to push up to seated, just come on up into an easy seated position where you can end your practice, or think of it as not an ending, as a beginning, right? So your practice is just beginning. And even though you're not on your mat, you're still practicing love and appreciation for yourself and all beings.